Hey, this is Jack from BCO Farm. I just want to do a little video update because we had a major rain event last night and today. You can see here that the swale, actually both swales, are full of water. I wanted to come out earlier and shoot some video, but it was raining so hard that I would have gotten the phone wet, so I thought that wasn't a good idea. But anyway, all the water coming down the driveway flows in the swale here. And you can see it's real full. And it took a while, but eventually it filled all the way up to the spillway, which we're approaching. And the rain entered the swale from the other end also, the far end. It meets in the middle, and then right here is the spillway. So when I was out earlier, it was coming out on that gravel on the spillway pretty fast. It flows down, and this is a little connecting swale I built next to the pond. You can see the pond is real full, and just a little while ago it was actually flowing over this spillway. So earlier in the day the pond was a few inches lower than this, but it filled up pretty rapidly. The valve was open on that pipe, so eventually water started coming out of the pipe, and it was entering so fast that the level came up even higher and started leaving this connecting swale at that spillway. It was running down the hill and into the lower swale, and you can see there that the water, even though it's receded in the connecting swale, it's still flowing out the pipe. So the lower swale is full end to end. In fact, a little while ago, when it was raining really hard, the water was actually overflowing the lower spillway, and that's just so you don't wash the swale berms out. But when that happens, that means we're losing water that we're not going to get the benefits of. It's going down the hill into the woods. But, oh, and this is great. Here's all of our wood chips, and you can see a whole bunch of mushrooms coming up in the wood chips. And that's always a wonderful sight. That means good things are happening when we see mushrooms. So you can see the lower swale is nicely filled here. We had to dig around an existing peach tree when we built this swale. At some point I'll do a more detailed post about how the swales were designed and built, and that'll be fun. But for now, just want to show you live events when they fill up. It's January 21st. This is the time of year when we get the good rain, and every time it feels like this, it soaks in. And when the summer comes and we usually have long periods without rain, we get all the benefits. The trees still have access to water. All the cool stuff that swales do is happening underground where you can't see it, but you see the results when the trees grow. I've talked about it before. These fig trees right here are kind of amazing. I think 5 or 6 years ago, that fig tree was planted from a pot, as was that one, which you can barely see. And then, of course, 2 years ago, we started building the swales. And at that point, we put those fig trees in, which were very small plants. And because of all the access to water that trees in the swales berms have, you can see it's outgrown these older ones. And then that fig tree right there with a tag on it was put in a year ago. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know the two swales were built a year apart. So the upper swale was dug just over 2 years ago, the lower swale just over 1 year ago. So it's cool to compare the growth between the two since they're a year apart. So these trees have been in the ground about 11 months. Those trees have been in the ground about 23 months in the upper swale. But back to these fig trees, this is really cool. So this fig tree was about the same size as that fig tree almost just a year ago. And then that fig tree was just planted a couple years ago. And this one was planted 1 year ago. So to compare, that lower one and this one were planted at the same time 5 or 6 years ago. They were the same size for years, and then just a couple years in the swale environment and you can see what happens. This one has gone crazy. That one has not yet, but it's got one less year of benefiting from the swales than that guy. So I would expect this next year you'll start seeing a lot more growth out of that one. And the same there, because that one has only had one season. And that was planted in February, so it's really, this is its first season of getting those rains that charge the swale. Since it was planted in February, it has spent most of its life in our drought season. So this is cool. I mean, we actually got figs off these trees last year, but I'm expecting you're going to see a lot of growth out of especially these upper two this year. So that's just an overview of how things are going. Everything's pretty full. Our pool that has goldfish in it is full. I'm actually pumping some water out of the pool right now into the pond. I use a very low watt, 40 watt pump, and sometimes I can even unplug it. And because the pond is lower, it'll siphon very slowly without using any electricity. We're expecting more rain tonight. There's 2 more waves coming, a wave of storms after midnight and then another wave all day tomorrow. So these swales should stay full of water for another couple days and getting us ready for the spring and summer growing season. So for now, that's all I have. This is Jack. Until next time, from BCO Farm.